Hi, I'm ZJ. I saw your video on gay marriage, and I'm a little concerned about some of the things you said, but let me just say, I understand where you're coming from, and you seem like a reasonable guy. I used to be a lot like you, believe it or not. When I was your age, me and my family went to church all the time, and they would tell us all sorts of things about God, how God created men and women, and how God feels about gay people and marriage. And when I watched the news, there were all these politicians and preachers and people with an opinion talking about how gay marriage is wrong. And I would think, well, that's what God says, and that's what everyone else says. I guess that's just the way it is, right? But I'm a little bit older now, and I've learned some things since then. So I hope you don't mind if I give you some advice, because I think it could help you understand things better. First of all, God isn't real. You know, in school, you've probably learned about ancient Greece and Rome, and they had lots of different gods like Zeus and Apollo and Minerva. But nowadays, not many people believe in those gods, and I'm sure you don't, because you know they're not real, right? And even today, there are 1 billion people who are Hindus, and they have gods like Vishnu and Shiva. But you don't believe in those gods because you know they're not real, right? There have been thousands of different gods that people actually believed in, but you don't. And God, the God you talk about, well, that God is just like all those other gods. It's not real. God doesn't exist. Now, when you were younger, maybe your parents told you there was a tooth fairy that would give you something when you lost a tooth. But later you found out there is no tooth fairy. Maybe your parents told you that Santa Claus leaves you presents at Christmas. But after a while you found out Santa isn't real. It's just something your parents told you. And God is really the same thing. Think about it. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Doesn't that sound familiar? The fact is, there is no God, just like there's no Santa and no Tooth Fairy and none of those other gods either. There are a lot of people who still believe in God, but really, they're just like kids who still believe in Santa. They just haven't figured it out yet. But you're too smart to fall for that again, right? Now, since God isn't real, you know he didn't invent men and women. How could he? He doesn't exist. It turns out people actually evolved from more primitive forms of life over a very long time. It gets a little complicated, but you'll probably learn about it in school. So, what does God think about gay marriage? Well, nothing. God isn't real. That's like saying Batman doesn't like gay marriage. Batman isn't real, so why would you care what he thinks about gay marriage? And it's the same way with God. And even in the Bible, there were men who had 2 wives at the same time, sometimes even more than that. Think about it, 2 women in a marriage together, and God didn't have a problem with that. And let me tell you something about the news. The news isn't supposed to tell you what to think. That's not news, that's just someone's opinion. The news is just supposed to tell you what's going on in the world, and you get to think about it. You're in control here. You can think whatever you want. Don't believe everything you see on TV, and don't let them tell you what to think. When you get down to it, there's actually nothing wrong with being gay. It's okay for a girl to like a boy, so why wouldn't it be okay for a boy to like another boy? It's okay for a boy to like a girl, so what's wrong with a girl who likes another girl? The fact is, some boys prefer boys and some girls prefer girls. That's just how it is, and that's okay. It's not a sin, it's just people who really like each other. And I know you said you were gay before, but now you're interested in girls. Well, you don't have to make a decision about that right now. You're still young. Your feelings are going to keep changing, and if you change your mind again, that's alright. It's okay if you like boys, or girls, or both. And those people who are calling you a homo, don't listen to them. It doesn't matter what they say, they're just stupid. And someday, you'll know what it's like to be in love with someone. It's unmistakable. It's a feeling that shakes your whole world. It changes how you see everything. And it won't matter if you're in love with a boy or a girl, you'll know there's nothing sinful about it. And someday, you might even want to get married. So really, you don't have to worry about gay marriage. It's not a problem at all. You don't have to be opposed to it just because someone told you it's wrong. Maybe they're the one who's wrong. Anyway, I hope I helped you understand a few things. Thanks for listening, and I wish you the best.